the other day, I was picking some strawberries out of the garden. My dad was like, Mama Marie used to put the strawberries in her shirt, put the fruit in her shirt. And I was like, oh, he's like, just put them in your shirt. And I was like, okay. So now when I pick fruit, I don't even put them in a basket. I put them in my shirt. And that, I'm about to cry. And that just like connects me to her. So I do that. And then one day I'm a beekeeper, and I was making some sugar syrup for the bees, and I was having a hard time. Like, I could not get the consistency right. And my dad was like, Mama used to make candies with sugar, like, do this. And I was like, oh. And when he gave me the tip from his mom, I was able to then make the right consistency, or get the right consistency to make the sugar syrup for the bees, because it had to be like hard in a certain way. And so, yeah, so I feel the connection there. And then I think one day I was going to a farmer's market. He was like, you know, your grandma used to sell her canned vegetables at the farmer's market, at that very farmer's market. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? So talking to my dad, I get all these little snippets of who they were. My name is Dr. Hollee Freeman, and I am 56 years old. I was born in Richmond, Virginia, at Richmond Memorial Hospital. And my father's family is from Prince George, Virginia. My mom's family is from Richmond, Virginia. And I grew up in Richmond. On my paternal side, I can go back to my dad, his parents, their parents, and their parents. So if my dad is the first generation, 1, 2, 3, 4. I can go back to my grandfather, great-grandfather, great-great-grandparents. I've done a lot of research to trace the history back, mostly oral stories. And this summer, I am preparing to get more detailed information. Went to Library of Virginia. I just found a lady that goes to the Bethesda Church up the road, where my father grew up in that church. My grandparents were in that church. There's a 95-year-old lady that remembers my great-great-grandparents, and so I always talk to her to get some information. And the rest has just been collecting information from family members. I will say, though, that it has been hard to collect information from family members. Many folks don't talk about family members and who's in the family, and you know, during that time it was difficult time for black folks in Prince George, Virginia, and I think, and some people are passing. The family stories are hard to get to. So to find a person that has all the information has been difficult, so I've been trying to piece it from lots of different people.
Why is it so important for you to capture it? Even with the difficulty, why is it important for you to kind of go on this journey to piece these stories together?
I live on family land right now, and it's not lost on me that there were many generations before me that lived in this space, and also in Prince George, Virginia, where my grandparents lived, and I visited often. And I just want to know more about the life stories of some of the people in the family, to preserve the legacy, so that my daughter and her children will be able to keep the stories alive, keep their memories alive. And also, it fills in some of the gaps as to some things that I'm involved in and things I'm interested in. And so I'm doing a lot of gardening, farming, and my grandparents were farmers. And just kind of having that sense of history in terms of like what's the DNA in my body, that feels important to me.
You reference Prince George County, and we're close to Richmond right now. So are you able to take us through your family's journey? Like, how did they get from Prince George to Richmond?
So my dad's family stayed in Prince George, Hopewell, Petersburg. My mom's family is from Richmond. So my dad's family, Charles City, Hopewell, Prince George, Petersburg. We know that enslaved people were brought to Virginia and worked in many of the rural counties that we have. We also know that indigenous people also were living and working, so to speak, in these rural counties. So I think that the fact that my paternal family is isolated, if you will, in that small area has a lot to do with the history of what was happening in terms of the economics, in terms of farming communities, family communities, that type of thing. On the land that we're on now, we're on 1 1/3 acres of family land, and my dad tells me that there were 3 families that lived in this space, in this land, and the road is a compilation of the names of the 3 families. We were the males, and there's a family cemetery way back down the road, and my neighbor actually has found the cemetery, and so when the weather breaks, we're going to walk down there so I can see what's down there. And so I have stories from my dad about how the 3 families just kind of lived in this area, and they all kind of commingled together, co-married together, families kind of marrying families. So I think that people just kind of stayed in the same space due to like what was happening at the time.
Can you describe what it was like growing up?
My childhood, I lived in kind of the Metro Richmond area, so sometimes Henrico, Richmond, that type of thing. My childhood is characterized by hanging out with my dad. I hung out with him, I can't even remember not hanging out with him, just since I was small all the way till I was older. And even now, every weekend we would go to my grandparents' house in Prince George, and my cousin and I would ride mini bikes. We would pick fruit, pick vegetables. My dad and I would go sell the vegetables. I worked on the farm. That was pretty much the highlight of my childhood. It was really kind of going to grandma and grandpa's house to be with my cousins and my aunts and uncles and my dad, and just sit on the porch with my grandma and snap string beans and pick pecans off the tree and feed the chickens and all that. Like that, that's pretty much how I characterize my childhood. A lot of fishing was involved. When I was in graduate school in New York City, I was in an art class, and we drew a picture of our childhood. And the picture, I was actually trying to find it. The picture I drew was us being down the country. And there were like watermelons in the picture. There were clothes hanging on the line. There was a water pump that we used to get water. There was a fishing boat that we used to go out on the water. Even though I lived in the city, what I remember is mostly being in the country.
You reference a lot, make a lot of references to the land. Tell me about your connection to the land and how you see that kind of woven through your life from childhood on.
Yeah, my dad, my mom too, but my dad really, my dad worked the land when he was a boy. He talks all the time about walking behind the mule and just working on the farm and having to walk. You know, when we go out to the store or something, he'll say like, this wasn't here, like this was a pasture, and I used to walk past here to go to school. And so there's a lot of stories that I hear from my dad about how the land was before it was, you know, industrialized and all that, before it was built up, and kind of just being close to the land, like honoring the land for what it was given. To know that, you know, my family were farmers. My grandmother used to can vegetables that she grew herself. Yeah, I feel like that's important. And the land that we had in Prince George is now an apartment complex, which is kind of painful to my dad especially. But it's to not have the land that your family had is like a break in the chain, so to speak. And so I would just encourage everybody that if you have family land, to try to keep the family land, and don't let realtors like buy your land and all that kind of stuff. There are a lot of artifacts that we still have from the land, everything from minute balls to arrowheads. And so just kind of listening to the land and seeing what it unearths, either physically or kind of metaphysically, I feel is important. I feel it's important, especially with like all that's going on with climate change and industrialization, all that, to like get back to the earth it's kind of calming, it's meditative, it's familiar. I think it's like in our DNA. It's in my DNA. I didn't live here as a child, only as a much older adult, and so it's just interesting. Like, it's interesting living with an elder, right? And
In what way?
and just kind of, I think it's the thing that Danielle said, or we said, about the kind of rugged individualism and like stoicism and like just get it done. And also, my dad's a Marine, so he likes things done a certain way. And yeah, so it's been interesting to learn where things are, what his habits are, and to be an independent adult, living with your parent to support them in their health journey has also meant that I've lost a little bit of my independence, because I need to come back to check on him to make sure he's okay. And so, and helping him with his health journey is the most important thing to me. So I had to kind of put some things on pause for myself. So yeah, so it's kind of been interesting. He said that he is the interloper or something, like he's the, what did he say? He's the squatter, but I think it's the other way around. But what he said about giving me resources for the future is true. Even just like how to do things, like I'm saying to someone, like, where is the knob to turn off the water outside when the winter comes? Like, where is that knob? So even just things like that, like, how do you do this thing? How do you do that? How do you fix this? So sometimes I'll be like, can you fix it? He's like, nope, I can tell you how to fix it. I can tell you which tool to use, or, you know. And so just stuff like that, I'm pretty handy, but learning how to do that stuff has been important, but at some point he may not be here. I'm gonna have to do it, and I'm just like, ooh, am I gonna be able to do it? I don't know. So I'm like a little bit concerned about that. But all that to say, like, living with an elder is honorable, it's joyful, it's hard, it's like all of that. But the fact that we're on our own land is an extra bonus. I wouldn't really want it any other way. I wouldn't want to live in someone else's house or an apartment or something like that. Like, this is our space. And if he says to people, you can't come through here, like, you can't come through here, right? So yeah, so there's a modicum of independence. There's a modicum of independence and freedom that I have in this, like, 1 1/3 acre of space that I don't necessarily have, like, out in the world. Like, this is our space. Yeah. My dad's name is Raymond Henry Freeman, and my mom's name is Laverne Antoinette Roberts. My dad worked at the Medical College of Virginia, which is now VCU, for many years. He worked in the neuropathology department. At MCV, he worked on the big electron microscopes. And so my dad actually worked on the HeLa cells. And Henrietta Lacks was part of my family on my mom's side. So my dad at MCV just happened to be working on the HeLa cells. He would cut the cells and put them, and he can explain it better, but he would cut the cells and put them into these diamond cutters, maybe, so that the doctors could examine the cells. So he worked at MCV for many years. Before that, he worked at the morgue. I think he always wanted to be a pilot, though, but those jobs are not available to black folks at that time. And my mom worked at the telephone company, used to be CMP, Chesapeake and Potomac Telephone Company. She was a manager there, and then she went on to have her own business. The other day, I was picking some strawberries out of the garden. My dad was like, Grandma, he was like, Mama, Marie, used to put the strawberries in her shirt, put the fruit in her shirt. And I was like, oh, he's like, just put them in your shirt. And I was like, okay. So now when I pick fruit, I don't even put them in a basket. I put them in my shirt. And that, I'm about to cry. And that just, like, connects me to her. So I do that. And then one day I'm a beekeeper, and I was making some sugar syrup for the bees, and I was having a hard time. Like, I could not get the consistency right. And my dad was like, Mama used to make candies with sugar. Like, do this. And I was like, oh. And when he gave me the tip from his mom, I was able to then make the right consistency, or get the right consistency to make the sugar syrup for the bees, because it had to be, like, hard in a certain way. And so, yeah, so I feel the connection there. And then I think one day I was going to a farmer's market. He was like, you know, your grandma used to sell her canned vegetables at the farmer's market, at that very farmer's market. I was like, what? Are you kidding me? So talking to my dad, I get all these little snippets of who they were as people, like things I didn't know. And I'm like, I do that too. And so I feel it a little bit more deeply. And that's been happening more recently. I've kind of figured out like, oh, I have an entrepreneurial spirit too, just like they did. Or I have I wake up early and go work in the garden. I'm like, and they have that same kind of work mentality. And so I just kind of started to put that together recently. We put these garden beds here so my dad can look at them when he looks out the window. So he can see something beautiful, something that reminds him of kind of growing up. He's out here all the time, and he's always giving me tips about growing things. And I just think it's nice to be able to share in that with him, especially as he gets older. And I'm like low-key worried that I don't know all the things. So I'm trying to like get as much information from him as possible. He's getting older and all that. And so one of the reasons why I moved back down here is to like get some of that information and to help him on his health journey. But first thing he does when he wakes up is he opens the blinds, and now he can see, oh, the tomatoes and the sunflowers and all the things out here. And then when he opens the other window, he can see the pollinator garden, all the beautiful things here. And so we were pretty strategic about where to plant things. And then we low-key want to use the field for educational purposes. I want to do like a dance class in the field.
I want a laboratory.
So Danielle and I are playing this summer. What we can do with all this space, like can we put a tiny house on it? You know, a she shed. What do we want to use it for? Because there's just, that's just space that we want to be able to activate. So yeah, I love being here on this land. Yeah, it's nice and quiet and peaceful, and yeah, I love it.
If you had if you had to use 3 words to describe your family, what would they be and why?
I would say that my family, on my dad's side, I would say my family is hardworking. I would say they're like, I don't say stoic, but like both feet on the ground, like get it done. Like my dad would just hit the whole family really, like they just get it done. You need something built, build it. You need something done, do it. Like don't waste time like fussing about it or worrying about it, just like go do the thing. So that kind of like make it happen. I don't even know what that's called, but that kind of like that work hardness and that like both feet on the ground, get it done. All right, so I got my 3 words.
Yep. All right. So the first was good.
First was good. The second one I would say is industrious. They just kind of get it done. My dad built this house by himself, him and his brother by hand, and that like who builds their own house? And he was working at MCV, so he would work all day and then come and work on the house all night, and he did that for years. And there's a cornerstone of the house. He finished it in 1986, and the house is sturdy, like nothing's wrong with it, like just get it done kind of thing. It's a hard work and get it done. And I say they're a family, like everyone's connected to the land, like everyone is creative, they get it done. My dad builds airplanes, he builds cars, he builds trains. My daughter is a farm manager, so everyone kind of works with their hands, like very creative. Danielle's also an artist. I'm an artist, so just kind of my cousin David, the same way, like we all just kind of like to be outside, we like to be close to the land. Like a naturalist maybe is that word. I would like for future generations to know how important the land is to the family. I want them to know the legacy of how we worked with the land. Yeah, and I also would just love people to know facts, like to know like, oh, my great-great-grandfather was the first person to own a thing, or this person did this thing. I just, some like tangible information about the family I would like for future generations to know. But I know that when I am like honoring my ancestors, I like to like call their names. So I want people to be able to call their names and kind of know something about them and know how important the land is to the family. Okay, so I have taken lots of pieces of paper from many years and put them all together in my like beginning to be organized family tree. And so I have Danielle, and so my daughter Danielle, Holly, my dad Raymond Henry, his brothers Joseph and June. All right, and then I have Marie Selden Paris, she's my grandmother, born in 1910, and then Joseph Indon Freeman, born in 1906. And then on my grandmother's side, we have her father was Mac Henry Selden, and her mother was Carrie Williams, who was married at 15. There's something interesting about Carrie Williams that I'm trying to figure out, and I think that her mother, Indy, was half Indian from Charles City, and then she was sold or given to John Williams, and then they had Carrie Williams. So I'm trying to just kind of figure out that, and some of this may not be accurate because I'm just trying to piece together things. And then on my grandmother's father's side, Mac Henry, my dad said they used to call him Pa Peck because he was a white guy, and so they used to call white people Peckerwoods, and so they called him Pa Peck. And he was a peanut farmer. He owned a filling station. I think he was the first person to own a car in the area. And so I'd like to get some more information about him and how he came, how it happened. And then his father is said to come from England, and then his mother was said to be a Blackfoot Indian from Charles City named Liza. Maybe Liza was sold, we're not sure. So that's my grandmother's side. So there are a couple of questions about her her people. Okay, so this is my cousin David and I. We are at Mac Henry Selden and Carrie Williams Selden's gravestone, and it was a whole story getting there. There was a whole story, like getting back here, and we kind of had to prove who we were, and it was like some, I don't know. Anyway, we got there. That was good. Here's another picture of my dad, my cousin, and I at the old, and this was in '97. This is my grandpa and grandpa's maybe back porch, because we always came in through the other way, through the front. But this is kind of what the back looked like. My dad grew up in that house, and
your dad grew up in this house right
yeah.
here. So this is the house that you remember as a child?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This is Mac Henry Selden's mother's sister, Kate Selden. And this is Leon Epps. I'm not sure if they were married, but this is Mac Henry Selden's mother's sister. That's his aunt, his great aunt, right here. Yep. And this is another family member, Addie Selden. This is from 1907. It's her husband and her children. So I have to figure out what Addie Selden's children's names are. But this is taken in 1907. And then on my grandfather's side, Grandpa Freeman's side, we have Georgiana Rowlett and Alphys Freeman were his parents. And then Georgiana's parents were Elizabeth, Lizzie, and Adam Rowlett. And so Lizzie is apparently the lady at Bethesda Baptist Church, knew Elizabeth and knew her well. And so I'm going to call her today so I can get some information, because apparently she's very sharp-witted and like remembers stuff. So I'm trying to get to that lady. So Georgiana Rowlett and Alphys Freeman were my great-grandparents. And I have letters, so my dad somehow had a whole stack of letters from Alphys Freeman to Georgiana Rowlett when they were courting. And so I'm going to go touch it, even though I don't have gloves on. This is from, I think, 1899. This is from 1899. Petersburg is the stamp. And I'm just going to read a little bit. I haven't read these before. So, November 16th, 1899. Marlboro, Virginia. My dear Miss Georgia. Her name was Georgiana, but they called her Georgia. Your dear letter came Wednesday. How glad I was to hear from you and to know that you were well. That one is just kind of, oh, this one is, the paper's even. This June 5th, 1899. Dear Georgie, I'm a little bit better today. Would like to hear from you. Had a hard time Monday night. I thought you would see me alive again. I am better today. I hope you can understand me. I'm flat on my back. So he is saying something about he's having a little bit of a hard time. Let's see what this one says. The paper is so small and delicate. My dear, oh, this is to Hollee Freeman. Okay, 1895. My dear Papa will write to you. We are well. I hope you are the same, as we are having a nice time and going to school every day. This is 1895. Going to school every day. And learning our lessons well. We received your letter and was glad to hear from you and hear that you were well. I have not heard a whisper since going to school. Brother Arthur got a whisper for Spider? I don't know. I need to preserve these somehow so I can like really read them. I did read one of them at some point, and it was a nice little love letter from Hollee Freeman to Georgiana. I hope you're well and send their best love to you. Take care of yourself. Yes, Grandma's sister Ada and Brother Arthur wrote to Papa this time, and I'll write next. So there's got a whole little writing train going on. The fact that these letters all exist is amazing, and I'm gonna figure out how to go through them and preserve them and really read them to see what they say.
How did you come upon these?
My dad had them. Daddy, how'd you get these letters? So this is Georgiana. This is Georgiana that with the letters. Alpha's wrote to Georgiana. Yes. Alpha's wrote to Georgiana. I don't know how old she is, but this is Georgiana that we saw. And this is Mac Henry Selden. I'm almost positive. My dad's grandfather. Yeah, my dad's grandfather. My dad keeps things. He kept them. He kept them, and one day he was like, do you want these letters? So I'm not quite sure. My dear sweet Georgia, thought I would see you this evening, but did not. I am sorry that I did not. I can't see you tonight. This is like a courting letter, and I don't. I'll see you tomorrow night. We are going to tomorrow morning. We're going to somewhere tomorrow morning, and I don't know what time we'll be back. I am not well. I have a hard time. Yeah, I'm not sure. The writing is it's a little bit faded, and I probably shouldn't be touching it. So I did open one of them at some point, and I remember it was a love letter. And so these are all kind of the courting letters from my great grandfather to my great grandmother in around 1895, 1899. So I think that's pretty cool to have letters, and the handwriting, the penmanship is beautiful. The words are beautiful. Yeah. So I really want to kind of explore that a little bit more.